Hello, everybody. Welcome to the latest episode of Games Up podcast. My name is Cameron, his name is Lewis, and he's going to tell you about the indie game of the week.
Oh, quick intro. I like it.
Why not?
So the indie game this week is Planet Coaster. Essentially, it's a theme park tycoon style game, and these games have been missing for a long time. So specifically, it's made by the people who made Roller Coaster Tycoon 3, which was released in 2004, and since then there has never really been a good theme park game, simulation game actually released. And I love this kind of game. I really enjoyed Roller Coaster Tycoon 3, and have been missing it in many ways. And it's been made worse by the fact that Atari have been releasing games that just aren't as good. They have actually released some simulation games, but if you go and have a look at the reviews for it, you'll see some very low numbers. So Planet Coaster is made by the old team that made Roller Coaster Tycoon 3.
These guys also made Scream Ride, right?
Yes, they did. They did make Scream Ride. And you can tell that they wanted to do this for a long time. And there's lots of love in the game. It plays very similarly to that game. And you'll remember it's probably the highest budget indie game that I'll probably mention for quite a while.
Sounds
yeah. But it's really enjoyable, and it really kind of gets to that simulation, building a really cool coaster, building really cool scenery. Especially, it really has the focus of when you go into it, you can see the Steam Workshop in some things that people have worked on. Mm-hmm. And the customization, the interesting things you can do are just infinite, and even the coasters that the developers have made have all been made with the in-game tools. There's nothing clever that's you can't do. You can do everything, from the game. So yeah, it's really enjoyable, and really it's what simulation should be here in 2017, whereas there isn't really too much on the market for it, and it's a bit disappointing, the other games out there. So, yeah, Planet Coaster by Frontier Developments.
Lovely. And how are you?
Indie game of the week. How am I? You're asking me now. I am good.
Glad to hear it.
Yeah.
Shall we get into the news?
No.
Cool. Well, that was this week's episode of Games Up there.
Yeah.
It's been a weird news week because there's a lot of good little tidbits, but nothing really that marks a massive topic of the week. So we'll go in slowly. Firstly, it's my obligatory news bunch out of the way. Firstly, Overwatch's Year of the Dog event has started. It runs for 4 weeks this time and has a bunch of new skins. Also, Pokemon Go got its last wave of Gen 3 Pokemon, including new legendaries and shinies. So that's it. The next lot that come out to Pokemon Go will be Gen 4. There's my obligatory ones out of the way. Now we'll move on to the second piece of news, which is this week. Blizzard announced this week that they received more money from loot boxes and microtransactions than actual sales of games.
Yeah. Very interesting.
I think there's a couple of things to be said here. This is said after the Overwatch League sale thing, by which they sold skins that you couldn't get with in-game currency. So that's going to affect it. Also, they haven't actually released a new game in 2.5 years. So I don't know that this is as surprising as perhaps people are calling it out for being. But they are making a lot of money from microtransactions. And arguably, it shows that their business model works well.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think they haven't got the worst business model when it comes towards that. So maybe actually we kind of should reward or appreciate kind of their take on microtransactions. It shows that they have a method that kind of is seen better.
Yeah, I don't think it's anywhere near as predatory as some of the microtransaction systems out there, and I think in a way that's kind of a good thing. The third piece of news this week is that Take-Two suggested that they are looking into the possibility of new Switch games. Interestingly, this effectively confirms that LA Noire was a test bed for the Nintendo Switch, and it seems to have gone well.
Yeah, and it could be exciting to see what either. I'd like to see them make something new. I think like the Switch is still lacking that kind of like new third-party games, as opposed to like ported games. So I would love to see something new from Take-Two. Not necessarily a Switch exclusive, but
Yeah.
But again, they have lots of stuff in their library that they could bring that would be really fun.
It's worth noting that Take-Two owns so many developers that this could mean a lot of things. Like they own Rockstar, obviously, so this could be GTA 5, GTA Online, but they also own Gearbox, 2K, so on and so forth. So this could be Borderlands 2, like they put on the Vita. This could be Borderlands 3, perhaps. This could be BioShock, whatever that is. This could be a whole bunch of sports games. This could be lots of things. So probably not worth speculating too much at this point, but it is good to know that they're looking into it.
Yeah.
Number 4 on the list of news this week is that Google are rumoured to supposedly be working on a new games console. Said rumours have suggested that it may rival the current gen systems of PS4, Xbox One, and Switch, which suggests to me two things. Firstly, that it won't rely on the Android marketplace, as we've seen consoles do previously, the Nvidia Shield and the Ouya, for example. And secondly, that we should probably be looking to hear about it sometime soon. It would be very odd for Google to announce the release of a new console closer towards the end of a generation, as we may well be getting close to, especially with much more hardware being released, i.e. the Xbox One X, the PS4 Pro, so on and so forth. Lewis, you think we're going to be Googling games consoles?
I don't know. I think it's whether there's actually room on the market. I think that's kind of the big thing. I think if they do release a console and they put it kind of just slightly between maybe the Xbox One and the Xbox One X, or maybe even above that, then it could work. Because I think a real empty space on the market, and something that the Xbox One X targets, is that currently graphics cards cost a lot of money. If you could release a console that could play like computer games, but for much cheaper than it costs to actually play computer games on a computer, then I could see that maybe actually working. At the moment it costs like £500 to get a nice graphics card, whereas if they could release something at that kind of price point, then it could actually work. I think something Steam obviously Valve tried to do a while ago. So, but I think their timing was off, and I think this timing actually could be right for that kind of thing.
I could see this being their take on a Switch. I think something that they'll inevitably have in their wheelhouse is that they do have a lot of people with a lot of mobile systems that could be connected to that ecosystem. And it feels like there'll be something to do with the Android marketplace, even if it's not a direct kind of you're playing games from it. But I feel like there'll be some kind of connectivity in there, because that's what phone companies like Google and Apple are doing a lot, is a kind of universal, you only need one platform situation.
Yeah, and I think Google, like, obviously they tried to release what's it, like a social network before, and that didn't work out. So it's not, you can't just say that they're big enough to just kind of do it. But part of me also thinks they are big enough to just kind of do it. So,
yeah,
I think like in the same way that like Microsoft, it's debatable, but Microsoft get by because they can throw lots of money at stuff. Whereas, like, we said it before that in this day and age, Sony's lifeblood is almost on PlayStation. Microsoft are a massive company, and so they have the money to kind of like develop stuff and maybe make a loss on Xbox and still kind of come out okay. And Google's another one of these companies that could do that. So if they really wanted to actually make a console, they probably could, and they probably could rival if they had enough money to like budget and advertise and all that kind of stuff.
I think there's some even more interesting parallels to be drawn there, because at the time that Microsoft announced the Xbox, obviously they were announcing it off the back of the success of DirectX, the technology. And now if you look at who promotes that kind of that equivalent of technology in today's marketplace, somebody like Google or Apple with their cloud services and their AI is the kind of thing that would be where Microsoft were 10, 12, however many years ago. And so, if you had to put money on who was going to enter the console space, it probably would be them. So,
yeah, and who could enter it and make an actual dent?
Right, exactly. Speaking of an actual dent, Nintendo do not intend to make an actual dent in your pockets, as they announced this week the cost of their online service and suggested that the next announcement of the service would be worth the wait. The online service is priced at $3.99 a month, which again leads me to two considerations. Firstly, the worth the wait service. Are we finally hearing about Virtual Console? And if it's worth the wait, is it a bit more than it was on the Wii U? But more importantly, does this put pressure on people like Xbox and PlayStation to reconsider the cost of their £15 a month subscriptions? If Nintendo do announce Virtual Console, they're going to be offering much the same thing at a greatly reduced price.
Yeah, especially. I mean, the Virtual Console is probably one of the Switch features that's most wanted at the moment.
Absolutely.
I've got a stack of games next to me. If there was a way of playing it on a newer device, then I'd be very tempted. I think on the terms of Xbox and PlayStation, I don't know whether this will whether this will convince them to lower their prices, especially not Sony. But I do think that at a price like that, then maybe it'll be very tempting. It depends what they're bringing, though, because I know a long time ago there was a suggestion that their free games and the content they'll be releasing was very old NES games. And if that's still the case, then that might not be as positive as people wanted. But yeah.
I think it's interesting you say especially not Sony, because I'm kind of the alternate opinion. I think with Xbox having the Game Pass, I think they're going to have less reason to reconsider their subscription. But Sony are going to be offering much the same as Nintendo would be, without a kind of.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess
that is true.
But
Sony has the market share.
Yeah, true. Very true.
And you have to appreciate that that while they can, they've got 40 million people paying £15 a month or whatever. Mm-hmm. So the PlayStation's got a very high subscription rate as well. And so if they drop that, if they drop that price down in 1 month, then they're losing 20 million or something, or not more than that. They're losing 200 million if they lower the price by half. So it's hard to say. They might just try and ride it out and just see what happens. I think if they start losing subscribers, they'll kind of turn around and go, yeah, we need to do something. But at the moment, it's hard to say.
The next piece of news is that RTX London was announced again to be happening this year in September. It's the second year that the convention will be taking place in London, and I believe it's happening at the Excel Centre again. But I think it marks quite an important thing for the UK, as it's yet another major gaming convention making its way to the United Kingdom. EGX grows year on year, RTX will be returning, it seems, year on year, and Insomnia is getting larger and larger as well. So perhaps good times ahead if you're a conference attending gamer. RTX certainly looks interesting this year, although there's very little confirmed for it. And the final piece of news this week is that though it's 122 days away, details have already started leaking out about what we might be able to expect from E3 this year. Specifically, our information this week comes from their official website, where a list of attendees are listed by their logos, and we thought that we would speculate on what we might be seeing from those people this year at E3. So, Lewis, for the topic of the week this week, I present to you Bandai Namco. What are they doing at E3?
So, we don't know what Bandai Namco is up to too much. But recently, rumours have been kind of floating around and ish confirmed. It's a little bit unsure whether it's actually confirmed or not. But they are the ones who are meant to be working on Metroid Prime 4. Mm-hmm. Now, depending how far along that project is, we might see it at E3. It's kind of iffy because obviously a year ago we got Metroid Prime 4 as just a logo. And the question is whether in the year to E3 enough will have been done to actually make that something that can actually be presented. Mm-hmm. At the same time, though, Bandai Namco could be involved in From. We could be seeing Dark Shadows Don't Die or whatever. Shadows Die Twice.
So That's actually something I was going to put to you. Is I think if they're involved with From, that puts that announcement on a hugely different scale, because lots of people expected that to be Bloodborne 2. But if it was, you'd expect Sony to be publishing that, and thus Bandai Namco to have little to no involvement.
Yeah. Yeah, there's lots of questions. I mean, there's that thing of like they come every year, and maybe this is the year where they're actually announcing something that's really tiny. And obviously, we have a list of developers and publishers, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they are on stage. It could mean that they are like on the floor.
Yeah.
So yeah, like we are also likely to see something like Soul Calibur from Bandai Namco.
Of course.
So it's an interesting one. It's interesting. I would be very happy if Metroid Prime 4 was there, but again, it's kind of depends how far along they were when the Metroid Prime 4 logo was announced. And you have to assume that it wasn't that far. So yeah, I think it's interesting. We'll see about this one.
The only big surprise I could see coming from them this year would be the Dark Souls remaster is released on the 25th of May. So if nothing else, you've got to assume if they're only on the floor, they're on the floor supporting that perhaps. But there has been talk for a long while about if a Dark Souls remaster happened that we'd see something in the form of what Lost Izalith should have been. I think it'd be fascinating if they came out and announced like here's like a final version of the DLC for Dark Souls. Here's an extra little thing. That would be great.
Yeah, I think a lot of people would like to see that because it does drop off at Lost Izalith.
Yeah, and there's a really fascinating story behind it about how they were rushed and Lost Izalith was the last bit of development, and so you can sort of see how their design documents fall off at that point. There's been rumours that there's like pieces of information out there that model what it should have been and how it should have played, and I think that would be awesome to see Bandai support it in that way. Dark Souls is a huge franchise for them. And it'd be really cool. All right, the next one up. We'll go through the slightly smaller ones now. So, Konami?
Yeah, so Konami are probably most likely to be having MG Survive, Metal Gear Survive. And the problem is I'm so used to saying Metal Gear Solid that I automatically say it before I say anything else. It's like programmed. So Metal Gear Survive, which we know is coming out soon. Are you saying 12 days?
Yeah, 12 days.
Yeah. The 12 days Metal Gear Survive comes out.
Get your pre-orders in. Don't do that.
And I imagine it's most likely that they'll have it on the floor or on stage in some way.
Mm-hmm.
It might just be on the floor with them kind of like getting people to play it and just sort of advertising it that way. Or I mean, it's one of the ones where they could announce. You could see them announcing something for it, or just kind of bringing it back and advertising it again on the stage. Yeah, I don't know with this one. I think like I can't see them announcing anything else really.
Mm-hmm.
I think it could happen, but the thing is that like beyond say Pro Evolution Soccer, which again probably wouldn't be on stage.
Yeah, I doubt it.
Yeah. They don't really have too much on the go, that's the thing.
Unless somebody like Nintendo were striking up some kind of connection between Switch and PES. But then they had a big thing with Switch and FIFA last year, so I doubt it. Konami could be coming in to rock the boat and really show something off, but it doesn't seem likely, especially in the way they've been handling games the last couple of years. Yeah,
exactly. I mean, the thing is, we have to come at it from the point of view that Konami at some point said that they were kind of stopping video games. They were less interested in making games anymore.
Yeah.
And like with that in mind, it seems unlikely that they're going to be announcing something big. I mean, we could assume that Metal Gear Solid 5 released in 2015. It's 18 now.
Well, yeah,
maybe it's Metal Gear Solid 6, but that seems really unlikely given the context of like what happened.
I mean, to be fair, they were staffing up for the next Metal Gear, so we will see it at some point. This might be the year, but It's I don't know. It's a weird one with them. I'm gonna skip over a couple here. Focus Home Interactive. It seems fair to say they're supporting Vampire and Call of Cthulhu. They actually did a press event this week in Paris, and they announced the release dates for all of those. So it seems fair to say they'll be on the floor supporting them. THQ Nordic are there with Darksiders 3. They announced another game. Well, probably with Darksiders 3. They announced another game earlier this year or late last year, one of the two. They could come along with a surprise IP. They could come along with something like Red Faction. Again, would be cool. There was rumours recently of a Red Faction remaster.
Oh, that's interesting.
Red Faction Guerrilla had apparently been given a remaster for the new consoles, which I'd be down as fuck for. That would be awesome.
Definitely.
Square Enix are there. That could be a lot of things. We know Tomb Raider is probably going to be announced, so that might have an input into it.
And Square Enix have quite a lot of stuff that they could, in theory, bring.
Oh shit, they're there for Kingdom Hearts, aren't they?
Yeah, there's Kingdom Hearts 3, which we know we know that they're there for Kingdom Hearts 3. That's been confirmed.
Absolutely.
That it's going to be its release date's going to be announced, which is great because it's one of those games that's it's in the realm of Last Guardian.
Mm-hmm.
And, these games that have been mentioned, but they've basically been developed for the last 10 years. And, has potentially fell off a cliff, but, yeah, it's happening.
Yeah.
It's been announced. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about games that fell off a cliff in a bit. And disappeared forever, but might be coming back. Yeah, they've got quite a few things. There's Life is Strange 2, Final Fantasy Remake. There's quite a few things. The Avengers game.
Oh, of course. Here's the question.
But these are all. Yes.
Do you think they do a show this year?
Oh, like a press conference. Yeah.
Yeah, I could.
They could. That's the thing.
Well.
Because they could easily come out and just be like, "Here's Kingdom Hearts 3, Final Fantasy Remake, Avengers Project, Life is Strange 2."
And I mean, we basically know Kingdom Hearts is out this year. They've said the release date will be announced at E3, and so it's either this year or like early next year. It seems weird to damage that cycle. We know Shadow of the Tomb Raider is probably out this year. The devs as much as confirmed it without saying anything officially. We know that we're probably going to hear something of Final Fantasy, if nothing else, because it's been so long since we heard Final Fantasy.
Yeah.
We can probably expect something from, God damn it, the Kickstarted game at Sony, the big one that everyone wanted, number 3.
What, Shenmue?
Shenmue, yeah. It seems fair to expect something from that. So yeah, they do seem to have quite a packed house of IP there.
Yeah. So they could be a really interesting one to watch.
Gearbox Publishing are there as well, although not Gearbox Software yet. They're probably still going to get confirmed later on in the process of E3. But Gearbox Publishing is confirmed at this point, so maybe Borderlands.
Yeah.
There's 3 more developers I want to talk about. One is your favourite, one is my favourite, so we'll go with the one in between for now. Bethesda are confirmed to be there.
Yeah, so Bethesda's a very interesting one. Because 2017 was Bethesda's year, I guess 2016 and 2017 together were Bethesda's year where they just pumped out games. I think in that period of time they released 4 or 5 games from the top of my head.
Yeah.
Which Wolfenstein, Doom, Evil Within,
Dishonored
Prey, 2. And one more. And Dishonored 2, yeah. So they've been releasing games like crazy. And they've run out, we don't know what they're doing. Bethesda are a mystery at the moment. I don't believe that we have anything confirmed from them currently coming out in 2018 or 2019 or anything. So that's really interesting. We have no idea what they're bringing. We know that obviously now we know they're confirmed. We have to kind of just sit here and wonder, but could be anything really. That's the thing. We could be seeing a new IP. We could be seeing something interesting. And I don't know. What do you want to say on it?
So I think that what we see from Bethesda depends on how much they're there in the show.
Yeah.
If they're there and doing a press conference, I think we should expect something big.
Yeah, definitely.
Because Bethesda have talked about things when they know they're not earth-shattering. Like, in the year they announced Fallout, we heard nothing, and then it was bang. But we also knew in that press conference that they were working on Doom, and then Doom came out. We also knew they were working on Dishonored, and then they did more, and Dishonored came out. This will be the fourth year in a row they're there, and this will be the first time since they've done these press conferences that we'd be going in dry. That seems super exciting to me. If they're just there,
I'm very excited for it.
If they're just there in support of stuff on the floor, or maybe they're in partnership with somebody, I'd probably be less excited about that. That seems like... I feel like Bethesda are at a point now where if they're going to make an announcement, they do it on their own terms. And so if there's no press conference, there's probably not too much to expect.
Yeah, that seems fair. I think you're right, though. If there is a press conference, then we have to assume that, like, something crazy is going to happen.
I mean, like, there's a couple of things it could be. Like,
it's
been 3 years since Todd Howard released a game, so that, like, it could be anything from his team. There's been rumors of a spiritual sequel to Fallout New Vegas for a long while. That would be cool as shit. There's been rumors about Elder Scrolls 6 for a long while. But it's
7 years since Elder Scrolls, come on.
But it's also potential that the team that worked on Doom are ready with the next one. There's also potential for, like, some of their older franchises, like Rage. Rage could come back.
Yeah.
There could be some kind of update on the... Oh, God damn it, I forgot the name again. The fast-paced shooting game...
Brink.
No, not Brink, the other one. The one that's multiplayer, that's got a really big PC focus. Rocket jumps. Quake,
right, yeah.
Apologies, there could be something for Quake maybe coming to to console. Like...
Yeah.
There
is a Quake game that's coming out, I think, or is
it's out at the minute for PC, I believe.
Okay. So yeah, there's lots of things they could bring. I think obviously we have to remember that like lots of their studios have only just finished their cycle.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like we can't. I think like if we do get, say, you know, the next Wolfenstein game or Evil Within 3 or whatever, they'll be the games that come out in 2 years' time. If they are talked about, they won't be the big reason that Bethesda are there that year.
Mm-hmm.
Which means that maybe it's... I'm just going to say it, right? They have a press conference. I say this every year, and it's never true. Elder Scrolls 6, it's happening.
Yeah,
okay?
I agree.
I think, like...
You know what? I'm going to disagree with you to be interesting. I think if they have a press conference, it's New Vegas 2.
Yeah, I could see that also, but it's, you know, it's one of it. I think it has to be something like that because all of their smaller studios have finished their cycle, you know.
Okay, do you want to go first about your favorite dev, or should I?
Yours is less interesting, but. So yours.
No, fuck you. Warner Brothers are there, and they have nothing on the slate at the minute. Absolutely nothing. If it's DLC, for Shadow of War, yeah, that's interesting. But it seems very interesting to be confirmed for E3 this early for just DLC. I'm putting my hat into the ring now. This is Warner Brothers Montreal, and I think it's probably a fairly big reveal. I don't think it's Rocksteady 2, Rocksteady's next game. I think they probably want to do that on their own terms, and I think Rocksteady have not announced a new game except for Arkham VR at E3 for a long while. Warner Brothers have given them the space to announce this their own way so far. They've given them the space to have their own kind of social media presence and not be quite too corporate. But Montreal have been silent since Origins. We know they've been working on stuff. We've seen the rumors. We've seen the leaks. This is that Batman game, and I bet you it's an Arkham game.
Yeah, I could see it being that case. I could see it, and you are right that like.
Sorry, I cut you off.
I mean, you are right that Rocksteady tend to announce on their own terms, so the questionable Arkham / Superman game that we're expecting is probably not going to be revealed at E3. But who knows? You're right. It could be Arkham. It's worth mentioning that Warner Brothers last time were there for like Lego Marvel superheroes or something.
Okay, so that's fair. They could be there for like I think another Lego game. I mean, they release one fairly close to every year, so that is fair to expect. And I'd still be excited if it was like if it's Lego Batman 4, I'd actually be nearly as excited as Arkham. But the potential of another Arkham game has got me so excited. Because every time I finish one, I'm like, yeah, I could play another Arkham game. And then there's nothing for a bit.
Yeah.
And it's been so long. If they announce, like, even if it's Origins 2, Origins wasn't great. But if it's Origins 2, man, that is a big thing for me out of E3. Yeah, I'm very excited about that. But
okay.
You are equally excited about CD Projekt Red. Yeah,
so CD Projekt Red are confirmed. And they only really come out the woodwork when they're announcing something big.
Gwent 2.
Yeah, this is the thing. Yeah, Gwent's returning. But yeah, so like the big thing is with them is that they do only come out the woodwork when they have something big to announce. Mm-hmm. They weren't there last year. Because I think that's one of the things you have to kind of take in mind is that some of these companies are there every year, no matter what they're bringing. And some of them haven't ever been, and they all rarely come, and that was what made Bethesda exciting when they had their first show. It was their first time, so we knew they had something. So CD Projekt Red are there, and a link with that combined with some other stuff that's been going on makes it feel pretty likely that this actually might be Cyberpunk 2077.
It seems fair to assume, yeah.
Yeah, and it seems like the time is right, and it would be kind of strange if they came all the way just for Gwent when they didn't come last year. So yeah, Cyberpunk 2077 confirmed. You heard it here. But no, it seems fairly likely that that's what this is, and I am so up for that, and I'm so excited to see it because this is the game I was talking about earlier, the game that's been in development for a long time. We've known it's existed for a long time, but it's kind of resurfaced recently, and I'm so up for a sci-fi game that has the polish of Witcher. I know you yourself have said that it kind of excites you as well.
Oh yeah, hugely.
So I'm really excited to see what they bring. And they're a company that's got like even bigger in the last few years. So it's possible that they do a kind of a Bethesda on us as well. I could see it happening. If you know what I mean, it's in like
what we go in dry and then they're like everything is happening.
Yeah, and actually like we've got much more to bring than you might think. I could see them also doing that. But I could see. I think Cyberpunk 2077. It will be out. It will be on the Sony stage, most likely. Mm-hmm. And
God, that makes me so sad.
Well, it's sad that you can usually call it, isn't it? That's the real thing. You can go, yep, Sony stage.
It's kind of sad because I really don't want it to be on anyone's stage. Like, I feel like this is the kind of game. CD Projekt have been so good about being not independent, but about being separate from that kind of corporate gaming bullshit. And in a way, like, you can tell The Witcher will be. I mean, I think they had marketing with Xbox the last time The Witcher was out. I feel like that was the case, and they certainly did for Gwent. But yeah, that that Sony are going to go hard on Cyberpunk, and it would be nice to have this as one of those kind of pristine, untouched games that we just get to play.
I hear you. But yeah, so this is probably going to be one of the biggest things in E3.
Oh God, yeah.
It's something that loads of people are excited for, especially after Witcher 3, and now a lot of people are into it who have played Witcher 3. A lot of people are into it who haven't played Witcher 3 like yourself, but have heard of like how good Witcher 3 is, but not into the setting. Mm-hmm. So I think it's going to be a big one to watch out for, and I'm really excited for it. And I'm going to be like the person crying next to you when Gwent 2 is announced.
Dude, Do you know what's really nice is that every year we've done E3 a little bit bigger, and I'm starting already to make some plans for E3 this year, and starting to think about what we could do, what we couldn't do, what would totally would be off the rails. And every year it's like
I'm just looking forward to when they announce the schedule and it's all 5 a.m.s to 7 a.m.s.
But that's the fun of it. Like, is Rockstar energy drinks and coffee and dumb food at 5 a.m. to talk to people about this stuff.
Yeah.
We're getting older, but we're not getting any wiser with it. But every year, E3 feels like a really big moment, and I think we've made it feel like a bigger moment for ourselves in a kind of in an inner circle kind of way. And already it's like it's literally a third of a year away, and it's so exciting.
Yeah. Yeah, I always look forward to it.
Excellent. Well, I think that wraps us up very nicely for actually a much shorter episode of the show than usual, but a fun one nonetheless. A couple of things that I'm gonna jump on, if that's okay.
No.
My work podcast is coming back from the dead this week. We talk about like films and media and stuff, and bring my students and some guests on. So if you want to listen to that, please do. It'll be on iTunes as well as this. And if you're a student and you're listening to this, firstly, thank you. Secondly, you'll know where it'll be. Secondly, Birmingham Comic Con looks fucking amazing this year for video game stuff. So I'm gonna go there and do some Games Up content. There's some like behind the scenes stuff that we could do, but there's like all the Overwatch voice actors there, and Nolan North is there, and Troy Baker is there. So if people want to see something specific from Birmingham Comic Con, please drop me a line. Tell us what kind of thing you'd like to see. If there's anybody we can hassle really hard to maybe get an interview with, I'm more than happy to put that work in. So we'll do what we can. Yeah, and as a final plug, ladies and gentlemen, you know where to find us. We are Facebook and Twitter at Games Upcast. We're on iTunes and YouTube. Please like the show because it puts us out in front of a few more people, and we'd love that support. It really means a lot to us. Subscribe to the show so you don't miss anything that we put out, because we put out a lot of these, and we'd love you to be along for the ride. And follow us wherever you want to. Lewis, have a lovely week.
You too, and all the listeners.
Play Tacoma, for fuck's sake.
I'm knee deep in Ocarina of Time at the moment.
Wow, lucky Ocarina.
Yeah.
I've never played that game, but I really want to.
Okay. I'll do nothing, and you'll just suffer.
Good. All right. Well, we'll sit here and do nothing. And the game's up.